Welcome, children of the night, back to the Infernal Archive. On this episode of our show, we will be watching the 1989 experimental silent horror film Begotten. I've been interested in this film for a while. Like, I don't watch art house films. Don't really like art house films. Never seen one that I was like overly fond of. I think the closest thing I've seen to what I would describe as an art house film that I genuinely enjoyed was the film Mother, starring Jennifer Lawrence. I don't know if you remember that one.
I don't like it. Scary.
I remember seeing that and being like pleasantly surprised. It is quite allegorical, but I actually ended up enjoying it because I understood the allegory, so it made sense. I'll read the little Wikipedia blurb for you here. Begotten, 1989 American experimental silent horror film, written, directed, and produced by Elias Merhige. It stars Brian Salzberg, Donna Dempsey, Stephen Charles Barry, and members of Merhige's theater company, Theater of Material. Its unconventional narrative depicts the suicide of a godlike figure and the resulting births of Mother Earth and the Son of Earth, who set out on a journey across a barren landscape. The film does not contain dialogue, with its visual style evoking early silent films. Before I think it was today actually, Brad put on the trailer for this movie that's on YouTube. If you want to see kind of if you wanted to get a flavor of what we're doing today, check out the trailer. But there were all these crazy quotes in the trailer, and I'm like, they did such a good job marketing for this movie, and I just want to read a few of the quotes for you. A spectacular, one-of-a-kind, seductive mystery, a Rorschach test for the adventurous eye. Richard Corliss, Time Magazine. Richard Corliss comes up quite a bit in the quotes. A remarkable achievement which draws together the stories of epic literature, the boundaries of poetry, and experimental film. Breaks all molds, furnishing celluloid with new possibilities. The London Film Festival. These visions of suffering give way to equally impassioned images of rebirth. Janet Maslin of the New York Times. A hallucinatory masterpiece that invades our subconscious and compels us to experience rather than witness. Atmos Vogel of the New York Film Festival founder. A cinematic force that bears further observation. Jeff Minnell, The Hollywood Reporter. A metaphysical splatter film. There's no denying Merhige's vision or conviction. J. Hoberma, Premiere Magazine. Startling, grotesque, and revolutionary. Points of floodlight in those places we choose not to look. John Anderson, New York Newsday. Brilliant, unbearable, and unforgettable. An extraordinary original accomplishment. Susan Sontag. Makes Eraserhead seem like Ernest Saves Christmas. I thought you'd enjoy that one.
Oh, God.
Critics' Choice Time Magazine. No names, no dialogue, no compromise, no exit. Richard Corliss, Time Magazine. Nobody will get through Begotten without being marked. Also by Richard Corliss. Yeah, pretty good quotes. Great, good marketing.
It's already up its own ass. We already started watching it.
I remember, I can't remember what film it was, but I remember seeing a movie one time that was sold to me just based on a quote where somebody said it was The Witch. One of the quotes in the trailer for The Witch said, "It feels like we're witnessing something we should not see," or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, that sounds awesome. I want to see whatever.
To be fair, after seeing The Witch, it does describe the film pretty well, I would say. Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the production of the movie because I just found it kind of interesting. Originally, the director intended it to be a stage play, but then he priced it out, and it was, I think he priced it out at $250,000, and he was like, that's way too expensive. So instead, he took $30,000 that his grandfather had put away for him for medical school, and he used that 30 grand to make this weird experimental film, which I thought was really funny.
Interesting.
To do the photography that they wanted to do, he knew he said, there's a quote from him on the Wikipedia actually that sounds really cool. I'll find it quick. Where he talks about, here we go. This is him talking about the look of the movie. He said, "I wanted Begotten to look not as if it were from the 20s, not even as if it were from the 19th century, but as if it were from the time of Christ, as if it were a cinematic Dead Sea Scroll that had been buried in the sands, a remnant of a culture with customs and rites that no longer apply to this culture, yet are somewhere underneath it, under the surface of what we call reality." And so I found out that, so they shot on film, obviously. I think it was like 16 millimeter with like some or other Arri camera, and he actually built the machine, like this custom printing machine, because what he wanted to do is he wanted these images that were stark white and black, like there's no degradation of gray or anything. I'm trying to think of there's an effect in Photoshop that does the same thing. But yeah, made his own custom printing machine. It would take 8 to 10 hours to process a single minute of film in this way, and if the slightest thing was wrong, they would have to start the whole process over again. And it's like a 70-minute film, so that's dedication.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
I respect the game. I respect the amount of effort. This is the only experimental film I put on the list, so we'll check it out. We'll see if there will be any more experimental films in future episodes of the Infernal Archive, or if this is kind of a one and done type deal. Thank you so much.
A lot of pressure on this one.
It is. It's and I picked the one that interests me the most. I've seen imagery from this film on I don't know, I've seen GIFs and stuff, and they are genuinely terrifying images. So I'm looking forward to it a little bit. I don't know if a 5-second GIF I've seen on Reddit necessarily translates to wanting to see 70 minutes of a film, but we'll see how it goes. We will catch you after we've seen the film and give you our thoughts.
God, it knows I'm here.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Welcome back, children of the night. I think I went a little hot on the fog machine there. We have finished Begotten from 1988, I believe it was. And I mean, we could have probably guessed how we were going to feel going into it.
I think it brings up, I think, without going too deep into the woods, because it's an art house film.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the more interesting conversation was was this a good art house film or was this a bad art house film?
Mm-hmm.
It was an art house film.
Mm-hmm.
They're unless you're really into that genre, they're fairly indistinguishable largely from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the interesting conversation, the thing we could maybe talk about for a minute or two here that I think is more interesting is what we were talking about before the cameras rolled, which is what is art? Is art only art because the right people say that it is?
Yeah, play the sunny clip.
But also no.
Also no.
Yeah.
Is art good just because the right people say it's good? Yes. Yes. That's how it works.
It's if you're into art house films, you're going to enjoy. If you're into art house films, are there any art house films you don't enjoy?
That's the thing.
That's the question. That is the question.
And that's what's difficult for me to parse, because we were talking about, I'm not demanding that I judge this film Begotten in the same way that I would judge any other narrative film. I'm not going to judge this on the scale of the Lord of the Rings and how I'm not going to be like, this is why The Lord of the Rings is good, and then use that same rubric to judge whether or not Begotten's good. It's an art house film. It's going for a very specific thing. It's a niche film. It's made with a specific purpose in mind. And not to say I'm not trying to claim that the filmmaker is we've never seen him speak. We don't know anything about him. I'm not going to claim that he's this really hoity-toity guy. He's done another film that I actually really quite enjoy. But just talking about art house films as a collective, or kind of the feeling you might get when you engage with them, or it's the same thing we were kind of talking about when you go to a modern art museum and you see a splatter of paint on a canvas, and you're just like, I don't know how I'm supposed to even. Am I supposed to judge this? Is there a contingent of art where you're just not allowed to engage with it critically, and you just have to be like, yep, it's good, and you should get 50 grand for that thing? And it's like, really? Is that what it is?
It's interesting to me because it becomes less about the actual art on its own and more about you and other people speaking on the meaning of the art. And it's it almost becomes less about the actual thing that you're, the painting, the movie, the whatever, and more about the conversation around this that you also get to direct. So you could film a pile of your own shit for an hour, and then in various different angles and states of decomposition. And then if you had a very eloquent metaphor or thing you could trot out after the fact, it's like, oh, this is a really deep film about the moral decay of society, and doesn't how the fecal matter decomposes does not really represent how as a society our morality has shifted, and it's this empty consumerism that we all deal with. And it's like, that doesn't make what I filmed anything more than literal shit decomposing.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
But I can trot out this trumped up, eloquent.
That's why it's kind of like it's should it be that artists are held to account in certain ways? Should it be that, like with a film like Begotten, for instance, like let's say, because we had read the little Wikipedia blurb, so we already knew a little bit going in. But let's say like we didn't do that. Should it be that Andrew and I sat down, watched Begotten, and then we both wrote like a paragraph about like, this is what I think the film was about, and this is what I think it was trying to say. And then the filmmaker has to also have a paragraph written that's like, this is what it was actually about, and this is what I was actually trying to say. And then and if it's like, if I didn't get any of that, like, did you fail as a filmmaker? Like, if your audience, beyond you giving them context or providing them the contextualization, cannot parse out what you were going for or what it was about or whatever.
And also not context within the film, not a title card at the beginning.
Nope.
Context totally outside of the recorded medium.
That's the thing, is like, I don't know. I kind of feel that should be a thing. I don't know. I don't like this idea that you can fucking fling paint at a canvas and just say, yeah, this is what it represented and you didn't get it, and then you get paid a bunch of money for it. I don't know if that is moral. Like, if you're gonna make something, make it with intent, make it with a purpose, and then if you fail to elicit that intent or purpose or reaction or whatever out of your audience, then I think you kind of failed at your project, and like, give it another go maybe. But like,
Also, I also personally think there needs to be more of a motivation or more of a goal than just, yeah, I wanted people to feel X way. It's like for example, I wanted you to leave this movie feeling unsettled, and that's the only goal. It's like, I could just compile a bunch of really horrific crime scene photos, and you would feel the same way. So if that's the goal, why not?
Or maybe there's like a happy medium where it's like, okay, well then make a 30-second to a minute short film that elicits that reaction for me, and then it's like, okay, yeah, you elicited a feeling of unease from me in a minute.
Yeah.
I don't know if you needed to do 70 minutes, and then you probably were less effective because I'm also bored now. Like, that's the thing. I don't know. What is it? Post hoc rationalization, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
When it's like, yeah. I don't know if it should be a thing that you're allowed to do. Like, to an extent, you should be able to write about what your movie's about, what you're trying to do, who it's for, all that stuff. You should be able to write a thing, and then afterwards, you should be able to compare that with what the reality of what your film actually did, and then be like, was I successful in my goals? But I don't know. But once again, maybe it's just fucking, maybe it's like, what do you call it? We're being
obtuse.
We're being I don't know. We're being gatekeep. I don't know what the word is, but like, maybe it should be like, I can just do whatever I want, and then I call it art, and then people who don't like it, they didn't get it, but the people who liked it did get it, and that's a weird coincidence that only the people who liked it were the ones who got it, and the people who thought it was shit, they're the ones who didn't get it. It's a weird coincidence, but it just worked out that way.
She loves it. She loves it. She's going for it.
Whoa! What the hell are you doing?
You can't throw art in the trash.
Oh, that wasn't art, it was garbage.
I don't know.
At the end of the day, if you're into art house films, power to you. Like,
yeah, you'll
enjoy it. It's another art house film.
Yeah, and
what makes it different from other ones, I couldn't tell you really, but
I went over in the intro, but the production of this film did sound very interesting. Like, a lot of the decisions that were made. It does seem like this film, when they went into it, they did have a lot of intent. So I can give it that, at least, that like they went into it. It seems like the product that they ended up with is the product that they set out to make. It's not like it was an accident that it ended up looking like this. It seems like they put a ton of effort into it being presented the way it was presented. So I can at least be like, okay, you made the thing that you wanted to make. That's good for you, or whatever. I'm glad that this is the end product that you wanted. But yeah, I don't know. I've seen other movies that I think are also very allegorical. Like I said, Mother, that I enjoyed. I think it was much easier to follow. But I would also consider it an art house film. I think as far as like this show is a horror. Like we're reviewing like horror titles, things that are supposed to be a little more spooky, a little more frightening.
At least horror adjacent, I would say.
Yeah, at the very least. And in that context, I think like a film like Sinister, which utilizes Super 8 like broken down film, it's a very different utilization, to be fair. But like, I think if you took a movie like Begotten, a lot of the filmmaking techniques, and you used certain imagery and sequences, and you took them and you recontextualized them in a narrative film, you could. That's the thing. Begotten to me is not worthless, because it has imagery in it that is very spooky. And I'm like, that's
Unsettling.
cool.
Very
It
unsettling.
would be cool to utilize that in another format. So I can never just say Begotten is this worthless film that nobody should ever watch, because I do think there's probably like 5 minutes of.
I was gonna say, watch a 5 or 10 minute highlight reel
Yeah,
of all the
yeah.
interesting, fucked up stuff.
Yeah, but beyond that, the film doesn't.
Lots of dicks.
Yeah, there
Lots
was
of
quite a few
dicks.
dicks.
I mean, again, are you really? It's an art house film. Are we really that surprised?
Surprise, yeah. I can't recommend the film to anybody unless you really enjoy art house stuff. You like experimental film. You're already familiar with that type of.
And in which case, you probably have already seen this film.
Yeah, you've seen it. It's because it's such a famous movie. Exactly. Yeah. We're gonna spin the unholy wheel. We're gonna see what we're gonna watch on next week's episode, and there's only 2 films
I
left.
guess it
So
dictates the last 2, really.
Yep. True.
So
True.
50-50.
Yeah. Oh shit. Wait. We're gonna do that again because I forgot to record the screen. Okay. What? Okay, Andrew. Spin it again.
Here we go.
Oh shit! I'm sorry. I spun it.
You're good. Good.
I'm sorry.
No, this you should. This is the last one.
Okay.
So we will be watching.
Will it be the? Oh, it. I flipped it.
We'll
I guess
be
it doesn't
watching
matter.
Starry Eyes next, and
Hey, actually, this is kind of, we were talking before about how I wanted to end it off on. So yeah. So on next week's episode, we'll be watching the film Starry Eyes from 2014, and then on the final episode, maybe we should just leave the reveal for the next episode. We'll at least do the reveal, and then you'll find out what we do on the last episode of this chapter of the Infernal Archive next time. Thank you very much for watching. We'll catch you later.